I do think as lawmakers, we have a responsibility, though, to look at, did cuts affect the ability for folks on the ground and at the camp to have an earlier, better warning?
Questions about cuts to critical systems like the National Weather Service, which handles forecasting. Did those cuts hurt the response time or the ability of officials to coordinate?
But at the federal level, you have the Trump administration saying for most of the time that they've been in power that they want to eliminate FEMA as an agency.
FEMA comes in after a disaster. FEMA comes in and aids the state and local officials after a disaster has happened. It's not about disaster preparedness. And disasters in this country are handled by the states and handled by the localities. Talk to state emergency management officials. They'll tell you that FEMA's usually in the way.
You keep hearing once in a lifetime, once in 100 years, once in 1,000 years. At this point, it's not anymore. It's just where we are with the climate and the environment.
What are we going to do about it is the ancient question, and it would be to stop burning fossil fuels. When you're in a hole, stop digging, and so on. But the fossil fuel industry has been very successful in getting organizations like the U.S. Congress to think that it's really not happening.
The DOGE of it all was essentially all the things that the federal government is spending money on for the most part is waste and fraud. But clearly, there are some things where spending money saves lives. And it may not save lives in the moment that you spend it, but at some point, somebody's life, somebody's child could have been saved.
Well, I think something that gets lost in this is the DOGE cuts have actually not taken effect. They don't take effect until October 1st. And if you talk to the National Weather Service, they say we had 5 staffers instead of the normal 2 that were on hand. We were giving alerts on Thursday. And you're right, it did go back to the localities, but that's where the money goes. And it's up to a local municipality or town to say, hey, yeah, we can afford this or we can't afford this. They put in for a federal grant. They didn't get it. I do think the National Weather Service followed through on everything that they were supposed to do based off of all the current reporting.
And I think that there is this stigma about using government money for anything with conservatives that we should just have a more honest conversation. An elected official could go back and say, you know what? I can make the convincing argument to a taxpayer about why we need to spend this. This is good use of government funding, and it's not just wasteful spending or fraud and abuse, but this will save people's lives.
Unfortunately, in the wake of this once-in-a-generation natural disaster, we have seen many falsehoods pushed by Democrats such as Senator Chuck Schumer and some members of the media. Blaming President Trump for these floods is a depraved lie. Those comments are depraved and despicable, especially when so many Americans are mourning the loss of their children. The National Weather Service, as I said, did its job. Many experts, many meteorologists have said that, and many Democrat elected officials are trying to turn this into a political game, and it is not. This is a national tragedy, and the administration is treating it as such. These offices were well staffed. In fact, one of the offices was actually overstaffed. They had more people than they need. So any claim to the contrary is completely false, and it's just sad that people are pushing these lies.